Well, I did actually hassle everybody to be here on time, so thank you so much all for trying into those online. How many people have we got online, Carolina?
9.
9 people online. Okay, that's great.
Including you and me. So
Fantastic.
Okay. A warm welcome. And it will be a very warm welcome today because this room has the sun coming in. So in a half an hour, we'll be, so we'll have a door open or something. And I will be monitoring the chat. I just wrote to everyone that if they have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat and I'll try to get them through to you, Phil.
Thank you.
You promised you will be pausing.
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, we all know Phil, so you know why I'm saying this. But it's really nice to have you here, and especially Steve, I think. We know how it works here.
Did everybody else spot that?
Someone gets the ideas and someone gets to work on them. So. No, but a little bit serious. It's really nice to see you here. We really look forward to what you will be presenting. I know several of us have been waiting for a presentation of the exciting news that you will be giving us today. So hopefully everyone goes away even happier than they came. We'll see.
And some of you will be joining us later on. Carolyn and I will be delighted to take you for a quick drink and some of you for a meal.
Yes, exactly.
Which we're going to work very hard to get. So we have an hour and a half to get through. Those of you online who want to leave, that's up to you, but the good stuff's at the end. So does anybody understand, or does anyone understand the picture here? You've all been clients for many, many, many years. Thank you very much. Yeah. This is Sysero. Sysero was famously one of the lawyers, head of the Senate when Julius Caesar was around. He spelled Cicero. He was famously murdered by Mark Antony. His hands were nailed to the Forum in Rome. So think about that when you next decide to leave us as being customers. People with Sysero have got a mean name. We're named after him. As you can see, he's got all up to date with his tablet and his ChatGPT. And I'd like to thank ChatGPT for helping me make the image. I did it all myself. So we've got quite a lot to cover.
Are you a descendant of his? Because you're not very... You like him.
What, old, fat and balding? Thank you.
No, that's not what I meant. Okay.
I have no idea, possibly not. So the agenda today, and Karen is going to make sure that I don't overdo it, but it will be an hour and a half because we have a lot to cover. So we want to cover what we've done in the last 12 months. A lot of people quite often will complain that they've been customers for many years and don't know what we're doing. Sysero has a policy of doing updates where you don't see the new stuff, because if we're updating your system, the last thing you want is to suddenly see everything change. So we introduce a lot of features that you don't know about because we just don't tell you. We do actually tell you in our newsletter, written by Tim in Good. So it is actually in the, if you're not on the newsletter, then contact Tim and get on the newsletter. It is all in there. And we've recently decided to revamp the newsletter as well. So it has some marketing stuff in there as well, because why miss the opportunity? But I'm here to show you the main things that we've been doing in the last 12 months in what is called Sysero Cogent. You don't know you're using Sysero Cogent, but trust me, you are. If you go into the depths of your product, you'll actually see in there it says Sysero Cogent. It's the name of the theme. So when I'm talking about Sysero Cogent, I'm talking about the products that you have. I'm then going to talk about the next one, and I won't spoil my own thunder. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But we're going to cover what you can have right now, what is just around the corner, and what is a few months ahead of what we're thinking for the next 12 months. So I hope you enjoy this. There's a little bit of what we call smoke and mirrors. And I know you Swedes are very good at colloquialisms, but for those of you who don't understand, that means some of this isn't real. But hopefully you won't see the joints. But the stuff that I'm showing you right now is real because this is the current stuff. But the stuff I'm showing you in the future is really just to get you thinking about it and the opportunities that it's going to present you. So Sysero Cogent, the one that you're using, is built on a technology that was originally designed over 18 years ago. The argument being, obviously, this is a very solid product. It's been around a long time. It's very functional, but we do have issues around performance. So we spent a lot of time trying to make the system more performant. Those of you who are clients base using our system for KYC, which is roughly 40% of our client base. We'll be spending a lot of time going next on workflows, and spending a lot of time staring at spinning wheels. And this is one of the things that we are working on and have been working on a lot. If we go to a standard form, a standard kind of KYC form in our product, we'll have a number of tabs on here as you've moved through the process. And the thing that you're sort of supposed to be taking away from this is how quickly I can now jump between tabs. Now, just to give you an example, I've left the first tab on the current settings. So I click the button on that. It's taking about 2.5 seconds to load, which is not the end of the world, but when you're doing it 20 times in a row, that can get a bit tedious. So we're going to be basically making it much faster. Another thing I wanted to show you that's available right now, we use repeaters a lot in the product. Repeaters are really important. They're kind of a really unusual feature. So they allow you to capture an infinite amount of information on an infinite number of people. So they're kind of really powerful. So you can have as many things as you like. So, you know, name, occupation, role. In fact, this scrolls right off the page to just kind of prove all this kind of stuff you want to capture on an individual. And you can have as many of those as you like. So repeaters are really important. And up until now, you had to go into each one individually and edit it. Now you can go in and you can actually edit them in one whole go. You can jump between fields. Very easy to go and do stuff. If you're in KYC and you're doing a lot of playing around with individuals, that is going to be a massive time saver for you. And you can even go ahead and rearrange them, which is quite cool as well. Another thing that I'm showing you, and this is really, didn't particularly excite me as a big thing, but it's excited Carolina so much that I thought I'm going to actually make it a feature, is a new control we've got called the list box. So what a list box does, it's a box with a list in it. But what you can do is you can basically search the box by typing in things into the box and then select them and add them to a multiple entries in a single control. What happens if I go bigger than the control? It even handles that, which is kind of cool. So again, just a nice feature, something that we sort of brought in just as a kind of an idea, and for some people who do a lot of form stuff, it can open up all kinds of opportunities. So it's just another feature that is available for you right now. Another thing that Carolina was involved in, she is actually one of our more active clients.
Yeah, I'm easily amused.
Is synonyms. Synonyms are a very simple feature, but very powerful. Obviously, you know, if someone searches for boat, maybe you want them to get ship as well. But our current search engine is lexical. It's based on phrase searching. So if you search for boat, you won't get ship unless you put in a synonym. So you can put in synonyms and that will handle that problem for you straight away. All available right now. Around 18 months ago, we did one of the biggest deals we've ever done. We closed a 1,500 user site in the UK, all based on template management, which meant that we had to do a few more toys than we currently are doing. So I'm just showing you a little demo here. It's actually the demo that I used to close that deal. Based on, obviously in this case, a letter. And I'm showing a number of features here. So I'm showing our previewer and I'm showing our iManage browser. So you can directly integrate your system in with iManage so that you can do what's called front-end profiling. Benefit of front-end profiling is I can go ahead and I can select the folder where the document is going to end up. I can do it with full automation, and the information that I'm getting, i.e. the client and matter, is now inside my document. So I can actually use the metadata just by going and selecting it in iManage. And that, by the way, is iManage as I am. So when I go into the browse, the My Matters is My Matters, and all that kind of stuff. So that's very nice in terms of creating stuff directly into iManage. As I go through, if I go and change things, you'll see the in the previewer, things I've changed come up in green. If I have certain bits of information, you'll see, for instance, there right now, there's no reference, no client reference. But if I put a client reference in, not only do we get a client reference, we also get the words your reference in there as well. I can make this a new client letter. So using our document automation, it now adds in a whole bunch of stuff. I can change headers and footers. And we can do things like link in with, say, a CRM system to go and search a CRM system and go and get some information and bring that in to finish it off. So now we've got a complete letter. We fill the form in, we can preview it online. I quite like this feature. You can make it jump sides. I really like that. And then you go ahead and click finish. And when you click finish, it's doing a number of things here. And this is where I'm talking about the little wheel that you get quite a lot in Cogent. Unfortunately, we have to do these things. So right now it's uploaded to the Sysero, to the iManage cloud. It is creating the document. It is downloading the document. It's doing all this stuff, and you kind of have to wait for it to do that, which is a bit annoying. We've also got to wait for Word to open up and all this kind of stuff. So it's a couple of seconds, but it's an annoying couple of seconds, and it's a couple of seconds that I'm hoping that I'm going to be getting rid of when we go to our new version. So this is now a fully integrated iManage document. It's obviously got the magical iManage number. It's even got a magical iManage footer as well. So you can do that. I'm going to steal a little bit of my thunder ahead as well. We're going to be talking about the new add-ins. So the new add-ins, I don't know if you're aware, Microsoft has completely changed its policy on add-ins. It's changed its policy on everything all the time right now. And our new add-ins are, they're basically web-based, which means that they have zero code in them. I really struggle with this concept, but they tell me this is the way it works. There is no code in there, so there is nothing to load. So once you've installed the add-in, it doesn't slow down your loading of your Outlook and your Word because there is no code. Speak to Steve on how that works, because I have no idea how we can have code with no code in it, but apparently we can. So in terms of template management, for instance, I could be in our web client like you just saw, and I could go and start a letter, or I could be inside of Word, and I could go to here, and I could start a letter from here. So you've got to start things either inside of your Office environment or from the web environment. Another thing I'm not going to show you, because I just don't think I can fit it in as well, is you can also start these things from inside of iManage. So you can go to iManage. There's a button inside of iManage that you can add, and you can select a document, and you can start a process inside of iManage as well. I just can't fit all that in as well. So if you want to know more about that, please get in touch, and I'll give you some more information on that. That's the sort of template management side. You've got the lists, you've got the iManage integration, you can do it from iManage. The client, one of the things that we've got into as well, and I'll be showing document automation later on, is email automation. Again, this was driven by, most of these ideas are all driven by the clients, they're not driven by us. So one of our clients said, I don't want to send out a letter of introduction anymore. I want to send out an email of introduction because nobody reads all these attachments. So can you try a lot harder to make proper formatted emails like you do with the documents? So we got into the email automation. So the email automation, there's a feature I found out we had half an hour ago. I didn't even know we had it. And I use this stuff all day long. So in here, I can create a fully formatted email. So it's using HTML. It's just like our document automation. So if I wanted to put a field in here, if I want to put in the project owner, I can just put in the project owner, and that will appear as part of the workflow. So I can fill in a form, and the form will then show all of this various data. What I really want to be able to do is I want to be able to customize these fields. So for instance, I want this to only appear if the work profile meets a certain, oops, sorry, wrong button. I want to highlight this. I only want this to appear if the work profile is financial, managing client money, or creating new organizations. So that text will only appear at that, if that is put on the form. And likewise, you can do the reverse. So I can say, but not if it's that, or that. So very, very powerful. You can create these nice customized emails. You can get, we've done this massive project where we had emails with tables in, and it removes and adds tables and stuff. That can get a bit hairy, to be honest. That's quite hard work, but it supports all of that kind of stuff. So you can create these highly customized containers that may or may not contain documents, or may just put everything inside of the document. So that's kind of neat, the fact that we can do that. But then clients come to you and go, well, that's great, Phil, but can I customize the email once you've created it via automation? And you clients, you're always doing this to us. We bring out this fantastic feature, and then you go, yeah, but can you just do that as well? And you're like, no, that's really hard. And then I get Carolina going, well, and it gives me the disappointed, sad eyes. And so, I have to sort of think, okay, how can I solve that problem? So, so this was quite a big one. So we had this problem of we're creating these automated emails from the data you're putting into the form, but then you want to go ahead and customize the email that we've just created through the automation. Well, how the hell do we do that? That was Steve. So Steve did that. I gave that one to Steve. I said, Steve, this is a problem. I don't want to know how you're going to do it. Just make it work. And he did it. So this is an email. It's been created by getting data from various sources as part of a workflow. It's gone and extracted data. It's put it into our automation. It's created this customized email. But now, because I'm a lawyer, I want to go in. This is going to go to my client. So I want to say, hey, Mike, fancy a round of golf? I'm not typecasting you at all, am I? Because I'm a lawyer. Oh, or gold even. Fancy a round of gold, definitely. And of course, you can do stuff like, you can make it bold and you can change the backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So you've got all those kind of formatting things. So not only can you produce automated emails, you can customize those emails before they go out. And don't forget, this is all audited. So unlike a sort of standard email, this is part of the audit log. So, you've got a permanent record of this. So this is part of like a compliance process. You're going to know what went out, what was put in there, all those kind of words, all recorded, all available for your auditing record. So in terms of the email, sort of the main features that are available right now, all of that stuff's available right now. We're doing some amazing workflows. One of the clients that I work with directly, we're doing this huge trademark workflow that involves 59 countries in Africa and outsourcing, and it's mindless. It's incredibly complicated. Those of you who use KYC, particularly KYC from our friends at PSA, will know that some of their workflows have got. What's the biggest workflow you've got, Petter? How many steps in it?
20, 30.
20 or 30 steps. Yeah. But how many actual items in there? A couple of hundred. I mean, I've seen your workflow. There's at least 300 or 400 individual things inside it, isn't there?
Probably, so, including actions and alerts and everything.
Yeah. So these guys, they basically are our biggest business partner. They have 30 odd customers running customized KYC systems, all based on Sysero. And what they've done with Sysero is mind blowing. In fact, they have more people who do Sysero than we do. Yeah, very impressive stuff. Now, you knew you weren't going to get away without hearing about AI, obviously. So I'm going to start off with the slightly dull side of AI. And I'm going to kind of build on this as a theme going forward, obviously, because that's what software companies are doing. So those of you who don't recognize what I'm looking at now probably shouldn't be in the room. This is a standard search page. I've just filtered it down to all our documents in compliance. And I'm going to select a document. When I select a document, you'll be familiar with this. You get a bunch of options. Guess what? We've got a new Send to AI option. So the Send to AI option, you can basically wire it up in the settings page to go to any AI you choose. So if you are tied in with Microsoft and OpenAI, which probably most of you are, a very easy thing to do to wire it up. You literally just get your keys from Microsoft, you stick it into the software, you say which roles you want it to be available to, it's then available to it. You're responsible for paying for the AI. We don't pay for it. We're just giving you the ability to use it. So now I've got this, I can do useful stuff, like I can say, for instance, sorry, I've got my notes here, so forgive me, because otherwise, if I go off script, then I'm going to lose my flow. So I can say, for instance, what is our policy on handling personal data? And handling personal data. So I've basically thrown a document into ChatGPT. So this is obviously a document that we have. We thrown it into ChatGPT, it's our knowledge library, and it's going to give me some, pretty detailed details on our policy. Got a little copy button here, so I can copy and paste that and go and use that for something. So your standard kind of Gen I stuff, but done with your own personal data. So that is available right now. You can use it. You basically just get in touch with us. We'll tell you how to set it up. But if as long as your system's up to date, you'll have a little AI button on your system tab. You can go ahead and use that. So now I'm going to get a little bit more into these new Office add-ins and the fact that you can do all this kind of cool stuff with these new add-ins. So one of the things that we did, and this is again there just for me. people are asking me a lot about Microsoft Copilot. So I thought I'd kind of show a little bit about how the difference between sort of Copilot and what we're doing. So those of you who haven't seen Copilot, so you can do things like get it to go and create your documents. Now, I don't imagine that anyone in the world is going to do this, but this is basically kind of what they're pitching it for. So write me a data processing agreement. So it's going to go ahead. It's going to write a data processing agreement, and it's I've had a little play with this a few times. It's not doing a bad job at the end of the day. It's pretty good. I'm guaranteeing you, there's not a single lawyer who works for any of your firms that's going to say that is even remotely acceptable as a data processing agreement. I take that as read. I'm just kind of showing you. So that's what you get from doing Gen using the internet. So I suspect what you're going to want to do is to do something a bit more useful, like go in and create clauses. Now, if I go back to the demo we did earlier, where we looked at our data processing agreement, we've got a, I don't know if you guys have used the previewer in here, but we have a really nice previewer in the search engine. So this is our data processing agreement. If you have a contract with Sysero, and I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't, and I'm sure you've all read them, this data processing agreement has been developed over years and years and years of working with law firms. And one of the things on here is a restriction on use. So I was looking at the one that was produced from here, and there is no clause on the restriction of use. Not really surprising, it's not kind of that specialist. So imagine I have a document like this and I want to put in a restriction of use clause, which I have in my data processing agreement inside of my Sysero knowledge library. So this is again where the AI can come in. So we can bring up our little add-in. And because my role allows me to, I have an AI button. So when I click on the AI button, it's going to take the current context of the document that I'm in. In other words, the current document is going to send that up to ChatGPT. And the context stays with me throughout my day. So if I go to this little folder, I've got a couple of documents here. I've got the untitled one, which is the one I'm currently working on, and then I've got the data processing agreement that I just uploaded earlier. Remember, I asked that kind of fairly inane question. So it's still sitting there. So as I move around my applications, it's the documents that I've got are going to stay with me until I get rid of them. You'll see there's a little bin icon next to them, so I can, if I'm no longer, if I want to get rid of one, I can get rid of one individually. If I want to kill them all, I can kill them all individually. But it's kind of handy because I can kind of carry them around with me. So now I want to do something a little bit more useful. So I'm in this document, it's been sent to me by a client or whatever, and I want to create a clause based on our clauses from our data processing agreement to put into this data processing agreement. So this is all real life stuff, by the way. I'm doing this for real. This is not smoke and mirrors yet. So it's created me a document or a clause. So we'll just find a space to put that in. I'm going to put that in there, and we'll go ahead and we'll paste that in there. So gives me a little bit of headings and stuff here. So obviously got a little bit of messing around with the stuff on there, but let's just have a look at this. So this is the clause that it's created. Now let's just have a look at our clause. So just want you to read the first few words and the last few words on here. So the processor shall only process personal data, yada, 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 and then it ends with fulfillment of the contract. Now let's just see, is that what we have in our knowledge library? Go back to our knowledge library. The processor shall only process the personal data during the process of fulfillment of the contract. If you want to, by all means, read all the words, but the point that I'm making here is that this is an exact replication of what we have got and have proved in our knowledge library. So that's quite a bit different to going into Copilot and getting it to write something. This is actually using a clause based upon our stuff because I instructed it to do so, and it was pointing to our own personal data. So I'm hoping you can see the very subtle but massive world of difference between using the general internet and using your own data. And that's sort of, the kind of thing that we're talking about. And I'm going to be going into more detail. So we're going to come back to AI. Trust me, you're not going to get away with just that. We're going to be showing you more stuff. But before we do that, I want to go to something a little bit more mundane, but really vital to most of our customers. So most of our customers are at some stage, somewhere in here I've got Outlook, at some stage are going to be doing workflows, and they're going to be using the system for workflows. So we have our add-in inside of Outlook. typical KYC process, for those of you who don't do KYC, well, obviously you all do KYC because you have to do KYC. But for those of you who don't do Sysero KYC, you start off with a form, and typically it's going to be a corporate form, and you are going to be working with a company. So you're going to be doing something like a lookup to whatever your god of company's house is. In our case, it's UK's company's house, and I'm just going to take a random company here and go and grab some information. So this is a standard sort of integration available out of the box. This form, by the way, is exactly the same form if you're using KYC that you are currently using. It's just showing up in your task panel. So I can go through and I can give this some names, and obviously I'm going to be putting in some information about who the lawyer is and who the manager is, and all the kind of stuff that I'm afraid you have to collect when you're doing part of this. In fact, I get a bit bored of typing, so I'm just going to type some rubbish in here, and some rubbish in there, and that's our famous list box. So it works inside there as well. That's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and send it off to me. So I can start my workflows with the new add-in directly inside of Outlook, which is kind of a neat place. I've already started my whole process of auditing of what I'm doing, of creating it. So the new add-ins available inside of all of the Office applications, obviously slightly different inside of Outlook because obviously emails are different to normal documents. I'm now going to move on to show you we're basically Sysero 2.5. So what is 3.0 and what is 2.5 and why are you talking about this stuff? The big thing is that, and this is kind of really important, is 2.0 and 3.0 can exist on the same system simultaneously with the same data. So even though you will have 3.0 on the system at some stage in the next few months, you don't have to use it. You're going to want to use it because I'm going to show you some cool stuff that you can only get under 3.0. But 2.0 and 3.0 are completely coexisting, and I am going to prove that as I go through the demo. So although we've got all this new cool stuff on 3.0, you don't have to throw away 2.0 because I'm also going to be completely changing the paradigm in the terms of the way you look at Sysero and what Sysero does for you. And a lot of you, in fact, you're all going to initially say, I don't like it. I like it the way it is. I get it. I get it. I do get it. And I'm going to have to persuade you all over a period of time why 3.0 is completely better than 2.0. But in the meantime, you can use 2.0 and will be able to use 2.0 for at least the next 2 years. So don't panic. However, once you see the new stuff, I'm really hoping you're going to want to do that. So before we start talking about 3.0, I want to just talk a little bit about what Sysero actually does, because a lot of you will be using Sysero for different things. And this is kind of a benefit and a weakness of the product. It's the fact it's a bit of our friends at PSA coined it the Swiss Army knife of software, which is quite complimentary because you can use it for anything, but it doesn't really give it a hook. So some people buy us because they really like our knowledge libraries. Some people buy us because they really like our compliance workflows. Some people buy us because they like our document automation. So Sysero does all these three things, but it does them in an integrated manner. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that. The reason it does that is professional services firms basically do three things. They have the things that they know, the things that they do, and the things that they make. So from our point of view, the things that they know go into a knowledge library. The things that they do are controlled by workflows. And every lawyer in the planet will say, oh, you can't workflow what I do. It's completely unique. Anybody not heard that? Yeah, it's completely unique. Yeah, you're in M&A. It's completely everybody else's M&A. No, I appreciate that every single matter is different, but every single process should be kind of similar. So obviously compliance, that's a bit of a no-brainer. You have to follow that. But actually, you can use workflows in a lot of different areas. And automations, we were always just talking about document automations, but now we're talking about email automation as well. So we just generally call it automations. So lawyers produce documents and emails. Obviously, they make their money from selling time, but their end products is, that kind of proves the time is a document or an email. And they do that through either ad hoc or very structured workflows. And we're trying to persuade you guys to take knowledge libraries seriously. So how can that help you, or how can AI help you in these three different areas? And this is a question I get asked quite a lot from people. I had a phone call from a guy I've been dealing with for 15 years. They said, he'll know who he is, he's on the call, but I won't say his name. But he said to me, and I've heard this before, been told I've got to use AI, kind of see it. People are using ChatGPT at home. Some of them are using it in the office. We've got to get a handle on this thing. We've got to make sure that we have control of it. Don't really know what we're going to do with it, Phil. What are we going to do with it? I've been told to make it do something useful, but, I've given them ChatGPT and they're not, it's not really doing much. So this is the kind of ideas that we're having. And bearing in mind, these are our ideas. And what I'm hopefully showing you is that Sysero is going to help you take your ideas and bring your ideas to life, and how different that is to just giving people access to Copilot. So in workflow, workflow is more and more onerous as the years go on. It gets harder and harder and harder and bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's more and more going on with it. And basically the legislation is drowning us in all of this stuff that we have to do. So we've got a lot of systems that we can use to pull information from. We saw pulling information from Companies House. We can do an IDV check where we can get individual information on an individual. So we get a lot of structured information that we can put into Sysero, and that's held in the Sysero database, and that's great. And we audit it. And so when the authorities come and say, why did you make this decision? You can say, okay, at that time, this is all the information that we had, and that's why we did it. But as part of that, you've also got to go and get all the documentation that backs up all of that structured data. So now what you've got to do is you've got to compare all the stuff that you've got in paper, maybe electronic paper, but PDFs and whatever, against all the stuff you've got in structured data. Now, guess what? AI is actually really, really good at that. It's really good at that really tedious stuff. So you're doing a matter, you might generate 10, 15, 20, 30 bits of collateral that go with that you've got to match up, marry up and prove and everything else. AI is really, really good at that. So that's a really good use for AI. So if we could basically use that as part of the workflow. So when stuff's coming in, we can check to make sure that the directors that were in the company accounts are the directors that came from Companies House. If there is a problem, we can tell you what the problem is. AI can help you do all this stuff, providing you're implementing it inside of a workflow. You could do things like assign risk levels to it. You could say, we've had a try at it, because trust me, with AI, there's a lot of knobs. We're going to give you a lot of tuning knobs to tune. You can tune temperature. You can tune how you want it, how lexical you want it, what models you want it. There are so many different things that you can do depending upon your usage requirement. But once you get comfortable with it, you're going to say, okay, actually, I'm fairly comfortable with this. If it says it's 90% happy, it's 90% right. So we'll say, okay, we'll pick a level and say, if it's 90% right, let's just accept it. And when the authorities come along, hopefully it'll be okay. But we'll do some testing and see if we're happy with that. And that is going to save you a hell of a lot of time and effort. And it's really, really good at that. In knowledge management, we looked at Gen AI, using things like Copilot. I think you could tell I wasn't hugely impressed. I don't know if you guys were. Wasn't hugely impressed. I want you to use managed templates. That's because I sell managed templating systems. But what you did see was that if we use the system to generate clauses based upon our own know-how, that is actually really, really good. So again, if we're doing the right kind of stuff, suddenly that's great. We proved it. I could see the document was exactly the same as the one that I put in there. That wasn't smoke and mirrors. I actually did. That was actually real. That could have gone wrong. That was real. So that is kind of really useful. That's stuff that people have been asking for years. People are saying, Phil, can you have something where I can just go to it and type it in and get a clause? And people were asking me this 10 years ago. No, of course we can't. Now we can. So that's great. And what I'm finding with AI, and I don't know if anybody of you follow me on LinkedIn, I know some of you do. That's very nice, and I appreciate that. I had a big revelation about 9 months ago, and people have whipped me mercilessly about it, and I completely get it, because up until a year ago, I was telling people that AI was rubbish. And yes, and I'm committed to this, and it's terribly bad of me. And I did have a come to Jesus moment, and spent 9 months in a box, basically convincing myself that actually this is really quite impressive and quite amazing, so long as you do it properly. So I basically went out and created an entire system based around AI. I am that much fun, and my wife does love me so much. So this whole idea of using your internal knowledge and how we do that, and I'm going to come into that in a bit more detail, give that a bit more information for you that in a second. The last area, obviously, the three pillars that we do. So we do the knowledge, we do the workflow, and we do the automation. In the automation, slightly different story there. The automation is about automating documents. Now, typically to us, that's been you fill in a form and you get a document. I'm now seeing with AI going a slightly different direction. Not Gen AI, not go and create me a document and it's all going to be perfect, but more of basically looking at individual sections of the document and also being able to take a document that has already been templated and automate that much, much faster than we could do before. And there was a certain law firm in Finland, when they see what's coming up, are going to be very cross with me because I told them we couldn't do this, and now we can. So I'm now going to take you into the realms of the Twilight Zone. So I don't know if you guys have heard of retrieval augmented generation. It does sound dreadful. I hadn't heard of it until 9 months ago. Someone told me it, and then I spent 9 months doing nothing other than thinking about it. Fundamentally, the big difference between Sysero 2.0 Cogent and Sysero 3.0 Agentic, round of applause for our new name, please. It's very clever. For those of you who don't appreciate it, it's like Sysero, it's very clever because Agentic is very cool right now. With AI, you have AI, which is obviously your large language model. AIs have agents, which is basically a chatbot. Agentic is kind of the next level on. So agentic doesn't necessarily mean agent. Agentic means you give something agency. That's what it means. It means, in other words, you give it to the right to do something. So it's kind of like a workflow that kind of does stuff. So, well, we kind of do workflows, but it's workflows based on your knowledge. Well, we kind of do knowledge. And then it actually produces stuff. Well, we do that as well. So this is why I kind of got, I was thinking, hang on a minute. This is kind of stuff that we do. And what this AI is doing is putting together things that we couldn't do, that people have been asking for me for years. And I've been saying, no, don't ask me that. That's just silly. And now we can do it. And that's what's so amazing. But what we had to do was we had to create a database that's completely different to the database you currently have. The database you currently have is based on text searching. And it's really good. I mean, I'm hoping you like it because it is really good. It's a really good database and you've all got it and it's fantastic and it's really fast. And people have been using them for years and they never go wrong and they're brilliant. So I didn't kind of want to lose that because why would you want to lose something that is so good, but it doesn't quite do what you want it to do? So I had to go for this thing called a hybrid approach. So we've got the old text searching stuff in 3.0, but we had to go for a database that works on concepts and relationships, and the name of that is it's called a semantic database. But if I gave you a semantic database, and there are loads of them out there, and you typed in data processing agreement, and the first thing that came up wasn't a data processing agreement, your lawyer would look at you like you were mental. I just put data processing agreement in, it didn't come up. Ah, yes, but conceptually, there are these other documents that are more, what are you talking about? I put in data processing agreement. So we had to create an engine that would combine the whole phrase searching idea so that it's going to do a data processing agreement when you ask for it, but also can conceptually take those concepts and use those. Why is that important? Well, before we go on to that, I want to talk a little bit about chunking. Weird, isn't it? That's an actual technical term. Google it. That's a real technical term. That's IT people use that. Clever people actually use that. Why it's so clever is if you think about what Sysero has got and what it's doing for you right now, you've got your KYC system, you've got your knowledge management system, you've got your document automation system. All of this is collecting data. You've also got links into your account system and your CRM system. We saw that earlier in the demo. So Sysero's got its hooks all over the place. We're in there, we're in your organization grabbing all this information. We've got it all available to us. And it's all coming from different places, but from a meaning point of view, from a semantic point of view, I might have something in an email or in a document that actually relates to something in an account system. So imagine I'm dealing with a particular client on something to do with tobacco. So I might have documents about tobacco in my knowledge management system. I might have a billing record that mentions tobacco. I might have an email coming in that mentions tobacco. So we take all of this stuff and we chunk it. We basically try and get a block of text that kind of is itself a standalone concept, and we give that a number. We give that a kind of a score. And then when you ask it a question, we compare the question you're asking with the scores of these various different things. And that's how we give you the answer. So the magic secret sauce in the middle is the LLM. So that's the bit, the ChatGPT bit, that takes all of these chunks that we have got, compare them to the thing that you have done, and then give you your answer. So that's how the magic works. So the big difference between 2.0 and 3.0 is that instead of in 2.0, you've got 16 separate systems all sitting inside of Sysero, all with their own database. In 3.0, you will have one database with everything in it. What happens if the database goes wrong, Phil? I've got answers for that. I'm not going to bore you with it, but I do. We have thought about that. But we basically have something that we can talk to. We can actually have a conversation with this thing. We can talk to it in concepts, which is why we have to have the semantic stuff. But at the same time, we're not going to get rid of your text searching, because that would be mental. So we need to kind of do both. And this is what is called RAG. So now I'm going to show you some software. And I'm going to be very honest with you. This is where the smoke and mirrors come in. Okay, so this is not available to you now. You can't have this now. I'm now selling you where we're going in the next 12 months' time. Does everybody like my owl? I like my owl. So my owl is supposed to be my chatbot. My owl is my little knowledge thing. And I quite like the owl. So one of the things people do, by the way, when they get Sysero, the first thing they do is they say, can we change all the colors and the fonts and the logos? And it's like, really? Thanks for that. So, ta-da, 3.0. So 3.0, you'll see looks nothing like 2.0 at all. Where's my search engine? Where's my graphics? Where's my pictures? Okay, it's none of that. It's very, very different. And you'll see front and center, you've got three main things going on here. You've got a calendar, you've got a to-do list, and you've got a chatbot. And that's basically going to be the core of your world going forward with 3.0. And in a year's time from now, this is going to be the interface you're going to learn to love, because it's basically going to be the expert and know everything about your organization. And it's going to help you control pretty much everything you do if you want to do that. So I'm going to take you through the sort of the basics of this. So if you remember earlier on in my demo inside of Outlook, I started a workflow. And that workflow sent an email, a terms of engagement email to an organization, which I've now forgotten what they were called. They were called, I can't even say that, Vinge Limited. So I sent them, started off a process with that. They have obviously been sent a terms of engagement email/letter, depending upon whether or not we did the fancy email stuff or whether or not we did the letter. And I've got a little reminder here in 3 days' time to give them a call. That's kind of neat, isn't it? So imagine you've got all these workflows going on. I don't know how many clients you take on every day, but I'm going to imagine it's more than one or two. I'm going to imagine it's probably quite a few. And there's going to be all these things that you're going to need to do in the future. And I've heard people say things to people before, like, we need a blue book system or a red book system or a whatever system. And basically, they just need to be able to schedule stuff based on what you're doing. So if you are using the system to create all these things, there are all these things that are going to happen. It's kind of nice to know they're coming up. So you can put that in the workflow. So as part of the workflow design, you say, okay, I want you to set me a reminder on this day to do this. And when I get to that point, the workflow can then set me a reminder to do this day on that. And that's just a really handy thing to do. It can then assign to-dos to you. It can give them different colors. It can give them different dates. It's basically you're using the workflow now to actually do stuff. So just taking you through this interface a little bit, you notice the other big difference here is we've got three main things here: libraries, workflows, and automations. Now, there's a reason for that. The reason for that is some people buy us for libraries, some people buy us for workflows, and some people buy us for automations. What I want you to appreciate is once you bought it, you can use us for all of those things. You know, I can't tell you the amount of clients who've bought us for a knowledge library system and said, do you know what, I bought this system that's 3 times the price of yours for workflows. You know we do workflows, right? No. So obviously the idea is that, you know, you've got the system, you can use it for all these things. So you really should be using it for all these things. So within the system itself, you've got libraries. And I want to notice as well by just how quick this is. This is real. This is real stuff. This is a server sitting somewhere in wherever it sits. And this is real. This is happening right now. Now I can create my own library system. I can rearrange stuff. Quite why there isn't a spinning icon at this point, and it is actually remembering this stuff. I don't quite know how that works. It's very clever, and I really appreciate it. But this is real software. This is actually really doing stuff. So I can build my own menu system. I don't have to somebody doesn't have to set it up for me anymore. I can build it myself. These things will appear magically. Something comes in here at the bottom. I'm actually going to use that all the time. I'm going to put that right at the top because I like that. Something we use all the time. That is just a very nice quality of life feature. I really like that. It just makes my life a lot easier as somebody who's going to end up using this, because we use this stuff ourselves all day long. So you can go in and you can basically create these menus. So you've got the menus for the libraries, you've got the menus for the workflows, and you've got the menus for the automations. By the way, none of this stuff is not new. All of this stuff is still there. If you go into Sysero and you create what we are currently calling a data room, what the more modern of you will know as an app, and what we're now going to be calling an agent, they're all the same thing, but right now when you set them up, you classify it, you say it's one of those three things. Now we're just basically showing you that, they are different things and they're going to work in different ways. Ultimately, they all have the same features. They can all do the same thing. So if you create a workflow, at the end of the workflow, stuff ends up in a library. If you create an automation and you're using it to create 20 documents, they end up in a library. So everything ends up in a library. You can have a library that has a workflow. You can put automations in a lot. So they are actually all the same thing. They're just used for different purposes. So if I am doing a workflow, I am going to create a new, what we were calling a data room and an app. We are now calling an agent. So I have an agent designer. This agent designer is, if you're on 2.0, we're going to call it the combined designer, which is a boring word. If you're at 3.0, we're going to call it the agent designer, which is an exciting word. In the agent designer, you can do things like you set up your workflow. So you go in and you say, okay, how are we going to design our workflow? Well, workflows, they start off with a start and a stop. So that's kind of what a workflow does when you start off. So you want to do some interesting stuff. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make a decision. And then depending on how you respond to that decision, you're going to want to go ahead and perhaps create an email. Or maybe you're going to go another path and you're going to give someone an alert. So in order to make all that stuff kind of work, I'll just sort of wire that all together. It's all nice and draggy droppy. So in order to make that kind of work, we need to have a form. So we go to the form. So in the form, we're going to put a field on here. So we're going to drag that in. We're going to put in a little drop down there. We're going to drag that in. We're going to put in a Boolean field. We're going to drag a little checkbox in here, and we are going to go ahead and give these things names. So we'll say, is this good? I'm going to call that as a field. So I'm basically drag and dropping, creating my form. If you use Sysero right now, you can still do all of this, and it would take me about 3, 4, 5 minutes to achieve exactly what I've shown you here in under 15 seconds. So that is quite a big deal. I can now go back to my workflow and I can say, okay, on my decision, what I want to do is I want to add a condition that says, if it's good, I want to go down that path. And if it's bad, I want to go down the green path. If it's bad, I want to go down the red path. And that's how we build workflows. Not really rocket science, is it? I don't know if anyone in this room has actually tried using the Microsoft workflow tools, but they don't work like this. So this is how you can create entire business processes. So a couple of bits missing from here we just have not yet got around to. So when you click on an email, that email designer, we're going to have a whole new version of that. I'm going to show you a little preview of that in a second. That will come up and you can design the email from this view as well. And the last thing is those data actions. And the data actions are the bits where we do really the fancy bits of going and getting stuff from different data sources. All of that will be in our agent designer. So this is the new agent designer. So this is basically going to be the heart and soul of how you're going to be creating. Right now, an established customer of Sysero would be creating, say, 30 or 40 workflows. With the new process, I think you could create hundreds of these things. What we do have, and I do want to show you today, is a create button in automations. The reason I want to show you that is that we have been doing a lot of work on automations. Now, earlier on in the demo, you'll remember that I used Copilot to create a rather ropey data processing agreement. Now, as part of that data processing agreement, it, along with every other bit of template in the world, and anything that everyone creates, will use square brackets to define the insert address here. And you'll notice that this is kind of the thing that I wanted to show you, and this is the thing that my customers that have been automating for years are going to kill me for. We now have automatic document automation. I'll let that sink in for a little bit. So your system, your templates that have got all of this stuff that's been in there for years that you've then had to go in and redo, it will now do automatically. And I'm very, very sorry. It took me a long time to think about it. But yes, we've come up with that as an idea. So you can see here, for instance, the customer name is mentioned twice in the document. So if I fill this in, it will be filled in all the times it's mentioned. So this is the data processing agreement that we created. So I'm going to do what every customer I've ever had does and say, what about a share purchase agreement? Because that's what every customer does. Let's take the most complicated thing we can possibly imagine, and let's start with that. Every customer does it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is a genuine share purchase agreement. It's quite an old one. And it's not in there, sorry. Oh, I get it. It's in my folder. This is a share purchase agreement that I got from Thomson Reuters before they were even Thomson Reuters. And I'm going to process that. And that has just automatically created 197 fields in a document that is, I think, 64 pages long. And I can go through and I can see every single field, and it will highlight them and take it through me. This software is still in development, by the way, but you get the idea. So one of the first things that we're going to be putting into the system is we're calling it the ADA, which stands for AI Document Automator, but it's also an AI Automatic Document Automator. I just didn't want to go with AADA because I'd have got a bit confused about the A's, so we're just going with ADA. So the new ADA will allow you to do all that work that you have done, because it kind of occurred to me, kind of had one of those again, come to Jesus moments. A lot of documents are already automated because people do these square brackets. In fact, we're probably going to extend the metaphor a bit more, because sometimes people put logic in there where they'll do things like do square bracket, the name of the thing, square bracket option 1, close square bracket, open square bracket option 2, close square bracket. And people use that kind of nomenclature to actually help them assemble those documents. So we'll be able to read that kind of stuff, and we'll be interested in your ideas on your documents and how your documents are marked up, and if we can actually help to pre-automate all of those documents as well. So the thing is, this will also be fully compatible with our current high end. So this basically is like document automation light, but it will be fully compatible with our existing document automation tool, which is, if I just get this employment contract. So on here, you'll see I've got a field here called job type, and I've got another field here called name of candidate. A name of candidate is an auto field where it's gone through, it's found the square brackets, and it's replaced it with a field. There are 3 of those in there, so I could just whiz through all those different 3. You'll also see that it's got some optional text on here, which is trial period required, which is actually this bit down here. So if I go and turn that off, it will actually no longer be visible. And that job type field and that optional field is actually done in the full Sysero product. So in the full Sysero product, the full Sysero document automation has something called Template Builder, which for those of you who are clients of ours is the really expensive bit. But this is the tool that allows you to do some serious document automation, where you can not just do optional text, but you can do sums and repeaters and all kinds of fantastic things that allow you to seriously automate a document. Now, you'll notice that those new fields have not been added into here, but that's where we're going to be going. So you'll basically be able to use the ADA to basically do 80% of the work, create you all of your fields, and then you can go in and start doing some serious automation inside of Word. But you better do some very light stuff inside of the ADA as well. So that allows me to do that. And the really clever bit is it round trips. So you can actually do stuff inside of Word and then round trip it back up to the browser. So all the information about the document, even though, for instance, you see that paragraph that's missing, that I removed, the optional text, is actually still in the document. So it's still part of the metadata. It still actually exists. Getting at it is pretty difficult, but it's in the document. So the document itself, it contains all this information in it. So you can send this document around. You could mail it to somebody. This is the other big thing that people have asked me for years. I mean, literally for years, is if I automate a document, Phil, I'm going to send it to somebody else. They're going to do some stuff. I'm going to come back, suddenly realize I've got to change this figure. It's mentioned 300 times in the document. Can I re-automate it? Do you know what I've been saying for 15 years? That'd be ridiculous. Of course you can't. Okay, you can. You can now. You can do that now. So you can send a document off and then you can bring it back. And not only can you change fields and it will automatically change them throughout the document, you can also change your options and text that was removed will suddenly magically appear. Again, I just sell the stuff. I don't know how that works, but I've seen it. It's amazing. So these are fantastic features that people have been asking us for years, and we're now apparently, I'm guessing down to the AI we're using in-house, has done some amazing things. So our developers are working with AI, and that's why we can do things now that we just couldn't do 2 years ago, which is quite amazing. So that's the ADA. But why is it called the ADA, Phil, when you haven't actually done any AI? You've done document automation, you haven't done any AI. Well, this is an idea that I got from a client of mine who is not on the call, but I know one of his colleagues is. So I got this document sent through. I've changed the names to save the innocent, but this is my life. You see my inbox, it's all accountants and data processing agreements and stuff. This is what I do. So I get these things all the time. These really detailed questions asking me really, really complicated things that require me to go and get lots of information, and I can't lie about it because it's like compliance, and if I lie about it, I'm going to be in a world of pain. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to, rather than just throw the document into AI and say, kind of answer all the questions, because that really AI isn't very good at that. I've got these specific questions, and I've had things with like 150 questions on where I have to go through and research every question. So this is where AI does kind of become very, very useful. So what I can do is I can actually go in here and take a particular clause and throw that into AI and go and ask the AI. Now, remember, we've got a data processing agreement in my demo. Yeah, so it's going to basically use that as the solution. So it's come back with an answer, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste that in. And so it said, does your organization process personal data from Acme in accordance with the purpose specified in the DPA? And the answer's come back. Based on the provided context, the answer to whether the organization processes data, it cannot be determined. The reason for that is, I don't know if you ever noticed this, AI never says no. You ever notice that? Never says no. Generally always says yes. This is as close to no as you're ever going to get. So the really important thing to understand here is not actually lied to me. It's not actually made something up. And trust me, having an AI that doesn't make things up is brilliant. Because it's like, great, you're telling me you don't know. You could have just said no, but yeah, you don't know the answer to that question. So that is great, because hallucinations, which is the technical term for that, is the AI so want to please you that they will just make stuff up. I mean, I've been coding with an AI and it's invented an entire programming language. I've been working with stuff and it's created stuff that's kind of half Unix, half Windows, and there you go. There's the, that's not real. That's not the real world. This is based on your real world data. That's kind of the important thing about it. Now, just to show that we are actually a proper organization, I want to show you one. It's going to ask me, do you measure up with confidentiality, integrity, and availability? And I'm really hoping this is going to get the right answer, because we are ISO 27001 qualified. So if this doesn't get the right answer, I'm going to have a lot of people to answer to. So we'll go ahead and copy that and paste that into here. Well, it's not going to be pasted, but the answer to the question is yes. Yes, we do have that. It can definitively say that from our documentation. It can tell me that yes, we do that, and I know we do that because I have to go through these whole things and answer the CIA stuff and give it scorings, all that kind of thing. So yes, we do that, and it is in our ISMS manual. Now you notice the big difference here between the 3.0 stuff and the 2.0 stuff. In the 2.0 stuff, I would have to actually go and get that manual and tell it to base my answers on that manual. But I don't need to do that now because we have the marvels of chunking. Because chunking has gone and got this for me. It knows the answer to the question, so it's found the relevant bit of the manual and it's given that back to me. So that to me is a real game changer. That was kind of, it was doing this is when I had my come to Jesus moment, when I was filling in this questionnaire and I thought, oh, if I put this in the chat GPT, I'm going to get something back. And I did, and it was kind of okay. And I thought, this would be even better if it was using my stuff. And then so that's kind of where the ideas came from, because I get a lot of these to answer. And I'm getting more and more every year, as we all are. So I can now give very, very specific answers based upon our own stuff. But let's just go back and let's just answer another couple of questions that I posed earlier. 15 minutes, I've still got the time. So remember we started this workflow earlier on for this company. A couple of things I'm going to prove to you here. Firstly, I want to prove to you how 2.0 and 3.0 are using the same data. Okay, so I'm going to go into 2.0, the system that you know, the Cogent system. And I'm going to go, that's more like it, Phil. That's what I'm used to seeing. This calendar stuff and AI stuff. I want good, solid screens. So I'm going to go and find my clients and matters. And, oh, there it is. There's our new one on here. So I'm going to open that record up. So this is halfway through, got to the client agreement stage. So client's got my thing, standard workflow, client's going to upload a document. So I'm going to pick up a rather ropey data processing agreement, and I'm going to upload that into here. So this is what KYC is about. It's about collecting all this information. So I've got that original email that came in, that was the start of the matter. That's all been indexed and put into the system. I've got this data processing agreement that's going to be put into the system, and I'm going to move through. So I'm in 3.0, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm seeing all this stuff coming up on my calendar. And I'm like, oh, those guys at Vinge, where are we with that? What if the system knows? Cross your fingers, this is going to work. Do we have a DPA from VIN? Help me if you want to. VIN.
GEN.
VIN.
There's definitely no equals.
VINGEN AI. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have a DPA? Can you imagine? This is very conceptual. There's nowhere in that document it says it's a DPA. Yeah. Please work. 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 Okay. Still a work in progress. It worked on the last one. Sometimes you ask it twice. Actually, it can be. It knew a DPA was a data processing agreement, which was pretty good, but could be a lot of things have gone wrong there. Sometimes you ask it twice. It can.
View related documents. Can you have a look at what it looked at?
You can. Okay, there was a problem on the indexing. It is still, as I say, smoke and mirrors. But you can see here, the way that the AI works, it goes and finds these relevant chunks. You can see we obviously had a problem. It didn't index, so that's why it didn't pick it up. It just simply didn't pick it up. Again, the important thing here is it didn't lie to me. You know, it knew what a DPA was, and it didn't lie to me and pretend that it had one. It showed me other examples of them where it did work, but you know, it didn't find them because it just hasn't worked correctly. But that's fine. But the point here is I'm getting the provenance, so it's telling me where it's coming from. I can see where it's coming from. I can see the part of the document that it used to prove it to me, and it's going to give me the correct answer. It's a real shame because it actually worked last time, but obviously there was a problem with the indexing. But as I said to you before, this is very much stuff that we are working on right now. So suddenly this knowledge agent, which by the way, I'm going to have to add on, I am an AI agent because I have read the EU AI legislation, and I worked out that if I put that on, I'm compliant. Go me. So yes, I've got to say, I am an AI agent. So in here, I was going to say, hello, I'm an AI agent. How can I assist you today? And I can tick that badge. So yes, I've been through that, and that pretty much I think covers us on the legislation for that. So from the point of view of the system, can you imagine just and this is where I want to leave you with. You can create as many agents as you like. You can put anything into them. You can have any workflow. You can produce anything. And then You can use it to ask you questions. I am so excited about this for my own company. I don't know what we do half the time, and we're not even that large. I found out today we have a feature I didn't even know we had. Now I can go to a system and I can ask it. I can say, do we support repeaters in email assembly? Turns out we do. I didn't even know that was a thing. We do. I can now ask it. So all of this stuff is going to be going into the system, and you can create it, and then you can converse with your own organization. It becomes your expert. So that is basically, where we're going. So hopefully I'll kind of prove to you all this stuff. In the next 12 months, we have completely redeveloped the whole client server thing. We're already seeing on the loading side, right now, we're already seeing 400% improvement on the loading. The spinny things are going to go away. So for instance, when you fill in the form and it goes and off and gets stuff, that does take time. Okay, we can't stop it taking time because it goes off and gets things from other systems. That does take time. It loads things up to iManage. That does take time. But you don't have to sit there and watch it do that. So what's going to happen is when you click on that, it's going to go, remember that to-do list? It's going to say, and then you can design this in the workflow. If you know that whatever you do next is going to take some time, you will immediately, as soon as you click the button, it'll say, yeah, we're processing for you. It'll send you back to the home page. And when that thing is ready for you to proceed in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 15 years, however, you'll get a thing coming up on your to-do list and it'll tell you can now continue it. But I don't want to watch spinny things anymore. Spinny things are going. It can run side by side with Cogent. Okay, so if you don't like it, you can continue using the current system. You're not going to want to, but you can continue. You can use this semantic database. So you can communicate with not just a database, but with all of your data. And we've changed the name of data rooms again. So they're now becoming agents. So it's all about this idea of institutionalizing your knowledge. And the thing to remember is it's RAG. It's a really horrible, I wish there was a better acronym, but that's what it's called. That's a technical term. It's called RAG. And RAG is what we're doing. And what we've done is we've created our own RAG database. And the difference between what we're doing and what other people are doing is ours combines text searching with semantic searching. And you'll be able to tune that as well. Because, for instance, if you are in a knowledge management environment, text searching is going to be more important because if you search for data processing agreement, you want to get a data processing agreement. If you are working in a workflow where you're saying, do we have anything on tobacco? Those words don't matter. The concepts are important. So you're going to be able to tune the way it reacts depending on the type of workflow that you're working in. What's the next steps? I haven't delivered that yet. This is where I'm going to go. So the next stage is language pre-processing. So imagine being able to go to the system and saying, tell me what our top 10 clients are doing. That can't be hard, can it? How do you know the top 10 clients are? Well, I don't say AI, right? No, not quite that simple. So we're going to have to do a little bit of pre-processing. So we're going to have to basically look at when you're asking for various questions, and we're going to have to take that and do a little bit of database stuff beforehand. We're going to need to go to your account system and work out who the top 10 are based on the fact of their revenue. So we're going to have to do a little bit of pre-processing. We're going to be using some wonderful words like agentic reasoning to basically pick these things out before it goes to the AI, to go and get the stuff from the database, mix it all up into a big pot, using chunking, send it off and get back a really, really good answer. Taking it all the way, and this is where 3.2 is, and I can't say when 3.2 is going to be because I haven't even done 3.0 yet, but in 3.2, we're going to go to event-driven workflows. Imagine, if you will, you're sitting there and you're a lawyer and you get 300 emails a day. You'll be able to go into Sysero and it's going to ask you, it's going to say, you're going to have the option, you're going to say, please read my inbox and tell me if there's anything in there that I need to do. This is going to be elective. This is not going to do it automatically. This is going to do it through the interface, and you are going to give it permission to do this. So if people don't want to do it, they won't have to do it. But if you do that, I know the matters you're working on. I know the knowledge documents you've created. I know the automated documents you've created. I know everything you do. I know there's an email that's just come in that semantically is very similar to that thing that you're working on right now. So I can basically create you a little task that says, you might want to look at this, this, and this. Oh, and by the way, I've also got the following workflows that relate to that as well. So this has come in and this has come in. So you may be, I'm going to give you these possible options to move forward. Event-driven workflows. Imagine it. You're going to sit there and it's basically going to do stuff. And all you got to do is say, yeah, I'll take some of that. Thank you. And off it'll go and do that stuff for you. So that's really where we're going to go. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was worth the wait.